Good evening, Herndon Town Council Public Session, October 29th, 2019.
We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. As Vice Mayor, I'll be chairing the meeting tonight. The mayor is not with us. The first thing we have to do is also make an announcement about the screen that's usually over here that you don't see. For the people in the audience, we think a bulb has gone bad, so we're getting that, but we still have the TV monitors, and individuals at home watching will be able to see these screens. So the first order of business is we have several sets of minutes to approve this evening. Is there a motion to approve the September 24th public hearing minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved by
Mr. DeCall, I believe.
Mr. DeCall, seconded by Mr. McKenna. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
All against, nay. 6-0. Is there a motion to approve the October 9th work session minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Approved, motion by Councilmember Fredericks, second by Baker. Is there any discussion on the motion?
No.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? That's 6-0. And is there a motion to approve the October 15th public hearing minutes?
So moved.
Second.
DeCall and seconded by Baker. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All approve?
Aye.
Against? No abstentions. 6-0. Okay. Tonight, we have one presentation. It is a proclamation to recognize Veterans Day, which is November 11th, and Councilmember Fredericks will read the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. A Town of Herndon proclamation recognizing Veterans Day, November 11th, 2019. Veterans Day, formerly known as Armistice Day, was originally designated to honor the end of World War I, which officially ended at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918. In congressional legislation passed in 1938, November 11th was dedicated to the cause of world peace, and hereafter to be celebrated and known as Armistice Day. In 1954, Congress amended the Act of 1938 by striking out the word armistice and inserting the word veterans. With the approval of this legislation, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. In 1968, Veterans Day was moved to the last Monday of October. Many states did not agree with this decision and continued to celebrate the holiday on its original date. On September 20th, 1975, President Ford signed a law returning the annual observance of Veterans Day to its original date of November 11th, beginning in 1978. Since then, Veterans Day has been observed on November 11th. On December 8, 2015, the Herndon Town Council adopted Ordinance 15-0-42 to add Veterans Day as an official town holiday. Therefore, to offer respect and express appreciation to veterans in the Herndon community throughout the United States and American veterans around the world, the Mayor and Herndon and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia hereby proclaim November 11th, 2019 as Veterans Day in the Town of Herndon, pay tribute to our veterans, the fallen, and their families, honor the courageous efforts of veterans who defended our freedom, country, and way of life, and celebrate the bravery and sacrifice of all United States veterans and their families. Further, the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia hereby proclaim that the town shall annually observe the 11th of November as Veterans Day. Encourage all individuals to honor this day with appropriate events and activities, and request that all citizens take time to pause on Veterans Day in silent tribute to our veterans, to whom we owe so much. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments?
Well, I want to thank the men and women who came out today from American Legion Wayne M. Kidwell Post 184. It's a delight to see you, and I am pretty chuffed that you all came out. I wanted to say a little bit about Veterans Day. There are 18.2 million veterans in the U.S. today. About 7.5% of the total population of the U.S., which seems like a really large number to me. And in Herndon is no different from any other city in the U.S. We have a large number of veterans. We have 1,002 men and women veterans of the First and Second Gulf Wars in Vietnam, and also a few, thank goodness, remaining who served in the Korean War and World War II. We often say on this day is that Herndon is a hometown for everyone, and I think the veterans of these American wars reflect the fact that this is a hometown for everyone. This is a diverse group of people who've given everything that they can. I know as the wife of a military officer, there are all kinds of jobs that you all have done. You've worked as machinists and navigators and cooks and artists and doctors and journalists and every kind of thing you can imagine to serve our country, and we are very grateful. So thank you very much for coming out tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at the observance on November 11th at the cemetery. I also wanted to bring your attention to a couple of other events that are happening in this area. The town of Herndon's Veterans Day celebration is on the town green at 11. Sorry, I said the cemetery, but it's the town green at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 2018. There are a number of performing arts events around the area, including... Sorry. Apparently I'm running on. I have a list of events for you all, but thank you so much for coming.
Are there any other comments about this proclamation?
I just want to say thank you for being here. It's a day I hold solemnly for my family, but please know that not only the sacrifice you made in war and the sacrifice you made for this country, and just as important because of the civic mindedness that you have as American Legion as a kid. Thank you for all the programs that you've done through, whether it was baseball, boys state, every girls state, and everything. So please know that it's truly appreciated, and your service and sacrifice is cherished. Thank you.
Mr. Call?
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just want to say thank you to all the veterans present here and not present here as well. We enjoy the freedom today because you decided to pay the price for it. So thank you so much for doing that.
Sure. Baker?
Yes. Thank you to our veterans in the room and otherwise that have served our community. It is an important day that we remember on November 11th. I had the pleasure of being in Normandy this past D-Day. And that was a really somber and meaningful experience. I was particularly being there with a few of our World War II veterans who are still with us, including Jim Claremont, who was a veteran from the USS Herndon, really tying that together with our community. So it was an absolute honor and a reminder for me personally and for all of us of so many that have served and have given that sacrifice during wartime. And we're happy to still have you here with us. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for your service. Two of my uncles obtained their citizenship through service. So this is a very important, meaningful commitment that veterans make. So I just want to acknowledge your sacrifice, your commitment, and your contributions. So thank you.
I think everything's been covered. I, too, thank you for your service. And Councilmember Del Aguilar and I had the honor and privilege of meeting two of the Tuskegee Airmen at Art Space about 6 or 8 years ago. And for me, they were a special meeting. I grew up in Alabama, so it was like really great to meet these individuals and see what they've done with their life. Not only helped us fight that war, win that war, and then go on to be really pillars of their community all over the country. I would like to recognize the head of the Kidwell Post, Mr. David Womack. Would you like to come down and say a few words?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Vice Mayor, Town Council, thank you so much for this few minutes. Excuse me. I can't really add to what you all say. You always say it every year so eloquently, sometimes better than me, most of the time probably. This town does welcome veterans. It is in our blood, it's in our DNA, it's what we designed to do, it's what we institutionalize. The American Legion followed your lead, by the way, and expanded membership so that this strange rule of having veterans from certain periods but not from others was recently corrected, so that from any veteran that served from December 7th, 1941 to current day and moving on can be a member of the American Legion. So I invite your husband to come join us and attend the meetings. This town does other things. So, for example, Mission Barbecue, whose mission is to serve great barbecue, but also to help the veterans, will be here on December 9th for their opening. We plan on being there. I know that members of the town will be there, and we ask that you support them. Also, I'm sure everybody will. You mentioned, Madam Vice Mayor, the ceremony on the town green on November 11th. It will be there, 11 o'clock. It is something that's near and dear to our hearts, and we're proud to be a major part of that. So as we see, veterans are honored here with a town proclamation. You guys do it every single time. I'm so gracious, and thank you very much from our hearts, from the American Legion Post 184, the Wayne M. Kidwell Post, for publishing this town proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments before we present the proclamation? Okay. If all of the members of the Kidwell would come on down, as well as anyone who has served or is serving in the audience, and all the members of council and our manager and attorney. Did I forget it? She's got it. You're all good. Did I forget it?
No. Thank you, Shelly.
I'm squeezing it. I don't want to ruin the middle. It's our first meeting.
Everybody ready?
Excellent. Go watch
Last year was good. 2 years ago was Ice Cube.
I froze my...
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll have comments from the town manager.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. At last week's work session, the budget team presented to you all a projection of what the budget was going to be doing, or what we perceive the budget to be doing over the next several years, with certain fiscal pressures placed on us, where we were seeing costs rising, where we were seeing an emergence of very important projects that had shortfalls, or very important projects that we needed to address. We presented I wouldn't say a bleak picture, but we showed some areas where we have some significant deficit areas where we need to look at in terms of closing up the gaps. This presentation is available on the website. Go to the meetings section of the website and look at last week's agenda, and the presentation is linked there. I'm not going to go through everything again. I just wanted to reiterate, like we said last week, this is for our operating budget. This has nothing to do with the capital reserves we have. We have a very healthy capital reserve balance that we've been working on diligently over the past few years. That capital reserve balance was a critical component to us getting 3 AAA bond ratings a year and a half ago. So I just wanted to draw yours and the public's attention to that presentation, and if they so desire to go out and see some of the things that we're looking at from our seats that we'll be discussing in the coming months as we move into the budget season. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And now we have comments from the Town Council. Councilmember DeCall.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. 3 things I wanted to put forth here. The first one is about the homecoming parade. It was great. It was, I believe it is true representation of who we are as a town of Herndon. And we had a great participation from different groups, and it was great to watch. Second thing, we had a special work session on housing. Great information session again. Lots of ideas came. But just wanted to let the public know this is just the initiation phase. We're still working on it. Please come to those meetings, send us, your feedbacks. What do you think about housing issue and everything, and what recommendations you have? Please keep them coming, because affordable housing, workforce housing are the burning issue now, and we are working to fix those. The third one is the third round of community roundtable was great. Again, we had great community engagement, and we had some great questions asked. We received some great feedback from the residents as well, and we will continue doing that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Sure. Don't forget to vote next week, right? Every year is an election year in Virginia, so don't forget to vote. You can certainly do early voting still, or just go to the polls next Tuesday, 6 to 7. Thank you to the Parks and Rec Department for an awesome parade and so many organizations participating. We had almost 70 organizations participating. We lucked out with a beautiful day, and just that's such a fun small town event, one of my favorites. So thank you to everyone who participated or came out and was just part of it. Thank you to the Baha'i faith community for inviting me and members of council and others to attend their ceremony last night. They had a celebration dinner in honor of the 200th anniversary of the birthday of one of their founder, of the Bab, and it was my pleasure and honor to get to speak to that group last night. And then the last thing is next Wednesday, I meant to say this with the veterans in the room, but next Wednesday, November 6th, Herndon High School Band is having their concert, Wednesday, November 6th at 7 o'clock at night, and that's their Tag Day concert. But this year, it's also focused on veterans, given their trip to Normandy this past June. We have invited members and family members of the USS Herndon. Certainly want to welcome any of our veterans in our community to attend as well. And we will celebrate them with a proclamation, and would love to see many of you there. So next Wednesday, hope to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Dela.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, real quick, dittos on the homecoming parade. Amazing, a lot of fun. My parents thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want to also echo the roundtable. We got a lot of feedback, so we're looking to do those again next quarter. Really appreciate everyone who took the time to give us their feedback. Looking forward to people continuing that process. The work session on housing that we had, the special session, just the start. We definitely are looking for more input in terms of what the needs are, what the wants are. We want to make sure we align our strategic vision with the overall desired outcome of the residents. And we also are starting to think about the budget. A little different this year. We're looking at a 3-year cycle versus a 1-year cycle, which I'm thrilled about. So please start getting us your ideas, your initiatives, your priorities. We want to hear from you. So thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember McKenna.
Nothing to report this week, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And now we want to hear about all these events from
Okay.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Just wanted to mention the grand opening of Weird Brothers' second location at 12825 Worldgate Drive, which is a gorgeous space. Number of us on the dais were there today to congratulate and declare their business officially open and cut the ribbon. So I encourage you all to go there if you get the chance. An individual that I respect in law enforcement told me today that this is a separate thing, this is not Weird Brothers, that if you're driving 25 miles an hour and you hit a human being, there's an 80% chance they'll be severely injured. So when you're driving on our streets, or your streets, and you are frustrated and in a hurry, please keep in mind that it would be very easy for you to hurt somebody badly, and you would be very sad. I also have a list of events that I was mentioning earlier, which I forgot. There's a Veterans Day celebration in Fairfax City. There's, of course, the Herndon Veterans Day observance on November 11th. And you could go to celebrate veterans and the arts at the Hilton Performing Arts Center on November 10th. I recommend that you go to the website, visit fairfax.gov, and check out all the different opportunities there are to recognize and thank our veterans. Thanks.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention the round table. There were several people at the round table event that were interested in what's going on with our Herndon Metro, and I attended the Metro Monday update on the Herndon and the Innovation Station, and our very own town manager gave the presentation on the Herndon Metro. So for those of you that I promised to send you an update on that, I will be getting to that. Getting the two PDFs or PowerPoints or whatever you want to technically call them. I'm waiting on the one from the county so that I can send those for the citizens to have that update. And the roundtables, again, this is the third one we've had. I've been to all of them. And it's really great to see individuals come out that we don't normally see at meetings. So if you don't like to talk on camera, please try to come to one of those roundtables. And I know I am willing to go meet with neighbors if you want to call me up and say, meet me at a coffee place or their house or wherever. I know that most of our council members are pretty easily accessible. And the grocery stores are great places to corner us as well. On another note, one of my neighbors last Thursday, if you heard about a pedestrian being hit in Herndon, they were at a crosswalk over by Weigel's. In the middle of the day, there was no inclement weather. They were in the ICU over in Ruston. They've now stepped down, but they're going to be in the hospital for several weeks. And this person was on a walker. And D.C., Maryland, and Virginia are doing a joint task force with law enforcement because the number of deaths in car wrecks have gone down. However, the number of deaths of pedestrians who are hit by automobiles is on the rise. And so they had last year 123 people in Virginia, 133 in Maryland, and 16 in D.C. were hit by vehicles and killed. So please be aware when you're driving, and if you're walking, pay attention. If you're walking at night, I encourage you to get something like this. I know you can get them at bike shops. I got this one at the Container Store. This is a blinky light if you're listening and you can't see what's going on here. We do have some residents that are visually impaired. But those are great things. And also, Captain Ansengruber shared with me a PDF that I'm going to put online, and it gives the statistics. I mean, if you're going 50 miles an hour and you hit an individual, they're going to be dead. Probably my neighbor got hit at 25, 30 miles an hour, and she's pretty beat up. So please be aware, pay attention, and give us a call if you have any questions about anything like the roundtables or any other thing you want to discuss with council. Now, does anyone in the audience have comments? You have 3 minutes to come make a presentation on anything that is not currently on our public hearing. If there's something on the consent agenda that you want to discuss or anything else, you have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. Okay, seeing no one, we will move on. We have several public hearings. The first one is a resolution 19G66 to consider the Herndon pedestrian plan. And we're going to open the public hearing and recognize Bryce Perry with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Just pull up the presentation here. Right. So the town, Herndon's first pedestrian plan, this is really the first document of its kind for the town, in that it is a standalone planning document dedicated solely to improving walkability in Herndon. Its development started conceptually several years ago when the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, the PBAC, began discussing the need. Though the draft, as proposed, was written by staff, it was really the PBAC that served as the working group for it. They helped set the parameters of the plan. They helped reviewing its several iterations over the past couple years. They even conducted a lot of the research and the data collection that then informed much of the plan contents. So currently, without the benefit of this type of plan, much of the guidance for planning for pedestrians is provided by the town's 2030 comprehensive plan, which appropriately emphasizes the importance of a strong multimodal approach to transportation network improvements. This plan would build off of that broader, more long-range comp plan language and go into more detail of the specific actions and the specific improvements for pedestrian network infrastructure improvements in town. So the purpose of the plan, principally the pedestrian plan as presented, is meant to outline the ways in which Herndon can make walking safer, more desirable, more convenient for as many people as possible in town. And it does that by providing a clear and consistent direction for pedestrian network improvements for use principally by town staff and by town decision makers, town officials such as yourselves. The plan will also help to identify where pedestrian infrastructure improvements are needed throughout the town. It also serves as a way to enhance awareness, awareness of walking as a viable alternative mode of transportation. And really, at the end of the day, with its implementation, it will enhance the level of service for pedestrians in town. Or in other words, it's designed to ensure that walkability is improved in town. What's in the plan? There's 4 main sections to the plan. There's an introduction, a walkability profile that explains the current environment for walking in Herndon, a section on walkability strategies, a focus on the best practice, measures and approaches for improving walkability, and the last section, the action plan. This is a table listing all of the site-specific network improvements in town. In the following slides here, I'm going to briefly go through each of these sections in a little bit more detail, and then I'm going to get into some imagery showing some of the specific projects being suggested as part of this plan. So the introduction explains the reasons for having a pedestrian plan, and it provides an overview of what's in the plan. It also has a statement on the plan purpose and the plan goals. There's also an explanation of the benefits of a walkable community and how those benefits are closely tied to community livability. Then it contains the more administrative side of the plan, so how it was developed, what methodology was used in its development, how it should be implemented, and how it should be managed moving forward. The walkability profile section of the plan offers a review of Herndon's current pedestrian service levels and the conditions that currently define it. So it profiles the pedestrian built environment. It discusses who may be walking in town and why they may be walking. There's also and it also profiles the policy and administrative framework for pedestrian planning in town. There's also a subsection here explaining why Herndon, as walkable as it is today, still has a lot of good opportunity for improved walkability for reasons such as improved access to transit, improved access to regional trails, and the fact that Herndon is a small town with control over its own roads and a relatively balanced mix of uses within our 4.2 square miles. Lastly, this section goes into the common pedestrian network challenges for Herndon, which are mostly tied to the town's largely suburban land use patterns and largely suburban street network patterns. The walkability strategy section of the pedestrian plan, I'd say, is the meat and potatoes of the plan. So this is where those common network challenges are confronted with specific measures and the specific solutions for addressing each of them. The strategies are categorized into 8 topics. They are listed here: pedestrian path connectivity and condition, street design and street pattern, safe and accessible pedestrian path design, safe and convenient crosswalks, land use and urban design, pedestrian environment, security and comfort, transit access and amenities, and pedestrian awareness. For each of these subsections, it's explained why each topic is an issue in town and what options are available to help manage that issue. The action plan, the last section, as I earlier mentioned, lists the site-specific network improvements, network projects for improvements in town. These were mostly identified by the PBAC members during a townwide walking audit that walking environment audit of every block in town, every street in town, every offsite trail in town. The projects in this action plan mostly fall into a few categories that I'm going to highlight here. There are those projects tied to improving access, such as removing obstructions from sidewalks, moving obstructions from handicap ramps. Here's 2 rather offensive examples in town here where we have utility poles and utility boxes within handicap ramps. There are projects focused on adding sidewalks where there is pedestrian currently, but no pedestrian infrastructure for it. Those are oftentimes marked by dirt paths. The photo on the top is on the south side of Spring Street near the on-ramp to Fairfax County Parkway southbound, and the aerial photo on the bottom is it's not that visible, but if I can get the mouse here. Through here shows a dirt path between the end of Virginia Avenue and the end of Center Street. That's a heavily used pedestrian connection there, informal pedestrian connection. There are projects for connecting or continuing existing sidewalks. We also call this filling in the missing links in our sidewalk system. So there might be sidewalks that end mid-block or sidewalks that will stop for a block and then pick back up a block later. So there's a lot of projects regarding filling in those missing links. There are projects tied to improving existing crosswalks, whether that means improving the signalization or the signage, improving the actual markings, or improving the ramps that allow pedestrians to gain access to the crosswalks. Here's 2 examples of crosswalks that do require improvement as cited in the plan. And there are projects that are focused on adding new crosswalks where they are needed, where there's pedestrian crossings, frequent pedestrian crossings in unmarked locations. And here's 2 examples of where that occurs. So the plan index at the end of the plan would include the town council resolution for adoption of the plan. It would also include a pedestrian plan action item report that would be regularly updated by town staff as the status of each of these projects change throughout the year. There is an inherent flexibility built into the plan since it would be reviewed annually by the PBAC and then updated as necessary with review by the Planning Commission and then further adoption by the town council. We do expect those reviews to be coordinated with the budget and CIP process every year starting this year. The Planning Commission has reviewed this draft of the plan and recommends its adoption as proposed. Their resolution is included in the staff report. A draft town council resolution has been provided also in the report for adoption of the plan. If approved, it would allow for administrative adjustments to the plan, and it would also recommend to the town council that they include a reference to the pedestrian plan within the comprehensive plan in coordination with the Planning Commission's ongoing 5-year review of the comprehensive plan. There was some good discussion regarding this plan at the town council work session last week, and I did want to follow up with some additional information in response to that discussion. Clarity was sought as to who the primary audience for this plan was. And I did want to reiterate that the plan is written for staff and written for town officials. We do expect it to also be used by town design consultants and contractors. And of course, it will be available to the public for informational purposes. There were some specific projects that were discussed at the work session, including project number 2 in the action plan for a safe pedestrian connection at Nash Street in Spring Street, and project number 5 in the action plan for improved safety conditions at the W&OD Trail crossing at Van Buren Street. Those were both considered high priority by the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee and will be assessed for further for implementation as the action plan is further evaluated during the upcoming budget cycle. We also received some other possible projects not on the list to evaluate for future addition to the action plan. So I wanted to point out that as projects are completed in the action plan, we do expect new projects to come in. So staff certainly encourages the council members and members of the public to notify us of any possible projects to analyze for future inclusion in the pedestrian plan. But the last thing I wanted to point out before closing out the presentation is to really emphasize how instrumental PBAC was in the development of this plan, and extend my thanks to that group, both the resident members and the staff members that really put a lot of effort and work into this. And of course, thanks to all the current and former PBAC chairs that have supported this from beginning to end. Vice Mayor Ullom, I think it was your idea originally to have something like this. Councilmember Baker, you helped us with the very fun walking audits of the town. Thank you for that. And Councilmember D'Aguila, you've been an advocate of this ever since it left PBAC in the spring. So certainly a collaborative effort, and I'm very happy to have it before you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent report. Are there any questions that the council has of staff? Okay. So we want to open this up for comments from the audience. Is there anyone here that would like to make a comment on this plan? Going once? Going twice? Okay, seeing no questions, we want to close the comments from the audience and move to council level for discussion and
We need to
action.
close the public hearing as well, not just the comments.
And close the public
Thank
hearing
you.
as well. Thank you. We're at council level. Do I hear?
Madam Mayor? Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 19G66.
Second.
Thank you. We have Councilmember Del Aguila and seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, big thank you to the predecessor chairs of this committee, as well as all the members of the PBAC committee. Staff has done an amazing job of assessing all the comments, desires, and priorities of everyone involved. I hope this will serve as a great outline to make Herndon truly a pedestrian-friendly area. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fredericks?
Again, I second everybody's praise. That was a great, I've read through most of the pedestrian plan, and it's pretty specific and wonderful. Also pretty complicated. I also, I want to say the roundtable comments that we got the other night, there was a significant number of those people there who were there to tell us about sidewalks that were missing and places in the road that weren't safe. So I think, I support this, obviously, but I do think we might want to make an effort, even more of an effort, and we're already doing quite a bit, to get people to report things that they see that we don't see. But as I say, this is amazing and wonderful, and I'm very appreciative.
Councilmember McKenna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, great job. Thank you, PPAC, and also to Bryce, another great job on this report. It's shades of the sustainability report as well, very thorough, very good. And more importantly, when we're looking at things like this is a holistic, when Mr. D'Aguila said before, having vision, and I think this has vision. People always ask about downtown traffic and what we're going to do. There's really, this is one of the things we can do, changing mindsets and changing culture to make things work. You can look at Houston and Phoenix as an example of they just kept building roads, and the only thing it did was add more traffic. It's just that's the way things happen. Expanding roads and things of that nature have proven that they don't work. But if you change philosophy and mindsets, you see places like New York and Boston and Chicago, which adopt these things, their traffic has actually gone down. And there's also a correlation between obesity. If you look at New York is what they say the fittest city in the country because it's very walkable. Cleveland is the most obese city, and their transportation and walkability is horrible. So this is just a great thing overall, and I think you did a great job, and thank you very much.
Councilmember DeCall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Councilmember McKenna 100% and all the council members. This is within the spirit of 2030 comprehensive plan and also our 2035 vision statement. Herndon is already built, so we don't have other spaces to build more roads. And as you said, it adds more traffic, right? So making our town more walkable and building more sidewalks as much as we can is very important to our vision of having a town which is walkable, and walking is a form of transportation. So we have envisioned multi-mode of transportation, and walking could be one form, and this is the future because a lot of towns and cities will adopt this in future. So we are moving towards the right direction, I can say. And also to our staff, great work. Thank you for doing this, and kudos to PBAC as well for initiating this. And also while finding, the priorities and where we have to build sidewalks and do other things, I encourage our staff to be even more proactive and get more, those areas of issues and concerns so that we can prioritize those in coming years as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Yes. As Councilmember Friedrichs brought up, this topic did come up quite a bit last week at the Community Roundtable, which I thought was great. I think it really speaks to the fact that walkability as an important means of transportation in the town is really on folks' minds. Not only to get to Metro, and so that was part of this, right? There's so many reasons why we want folks to have access to safe routes throughout town, and certainly to get them to and from Metro, get them to and from work, get them to and from friend's house, whatever. Bryce, I appreciate that you brought up when we had to we assigned everyone on PBAC a section of town to walk and list when there was a telephone pole in the way, when it wasn't ADA accessible. I mean, all those. Literally mapping every square inch of the town. Certainly recognize there's lots of gaps, and love that the PBAC, the committee has continued that, and there's so much good content in this plan, particularly starting on page 31, where we really highlight the places that we're trying to address, the really specific with pictures. Because obviously we have to pick and choose, right? There are lots of things, and that reminds me of budget season, right? So with budget season coming up, these will be things that we're going to consider what we need to fund of all these places in town where we want to continue to use this pedestrian plan as a means to improving our walkability throughout town. So, of course, thank you very much to staff. You've done a great job. Thanks to PBAC and for Councilmember D'Aguila for continuing that mission and working with those really concerned and active and engaged citizens to make this an excellent plan for us. Thanks.
Thank you. And having served on the PBAC chair, I'm delighted to be able to support this. Also, just wanted to mention that several years ago, the vacated road on Nash, which one side of Nash is by Spring Street and the other side is Center Street, and there was this huge walking path there through my neighborhood, and they finally put a sidewalk in, and it's wonderful, the number of people that walk through there. So when we have complete streets and sidewalks, people really will get out of their cars, and that is very helpful with the traffic. And with my neighbor being hit by the car last Thursday night, I didn't ask some of the questions that I'm going to ask now, but this is, I didn't want to say anything about this because we've gotten to this point and I think we should pass it. But for future, seeing that Virginia, Maryland, and DC are now working together on what we can do, not just to educate the pedestrians. I think most pedestrians are aware, but I really would like to see people aware that wearing your headphones all the time when you're walking might not be that safe of an idea. Maybe take one of them out so you can hear if someone's beeping or yelling at you, trying to pass you with a bicycle or a car. The other thing is that they are doing an educational program, and I'll see if I can get the piece that I saw on the news. They actually had police from D.C. walking in crosswalks in plain clothes, and they had officers elsewhere, and they would stop them and give them a ticket, a warning ticket, and explain to them how important it is to stop when people are in a crosswalk. And you could see this officer had a hard time walking across very clearly marked crosswalks in D.C. And anybody that's been down there knows it's very clear. But I hope we're going to continue working on this, make sure everyone knows you share the road and get those markings up. I think that's important as well to support making Herndon a walkable place. If you don't see a share, that doesn't mean you can speed through. You still need to slow down. And I know the people up here understand that, but a lot of other individuals don't, and we do need to educate the people in the automobiles. And with that, we'll call the question, which was moved by Councilmember Dal Acula and seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? 6-0. So now we will go to the ordinance 19-0-38 to grant a fourth franchise amendment to the program Executive Office Enterprise Information Systems, Project Manager Defense Communications, and RB Transmission Systems Technology Application Office, formerly the United States Army Corps of Engineers. And we're going to open the public hearing, and when we vote on this, there will be a roll call vote, and I'm going to recognize Tammy Chastain for the staff report.
All right, well, good evening. This is the Fourth Amendment for, I'll shorten it to TAO, the Technology Applications Office. This particular amendment, the office is going to acquire currently already installed conduit from north of Van Buren up to Spring Street. This way, they'll be able to not have to construct in that area. They'll be able to use existing conduit. And that is essentially what this amendment is for.
Okay, nice and concise. Are there any questions of council to staff? Ms. Fredericks?
So what you're saying is this one? You're saying that they want to buy something that's already installed and there won't be any construction or anything like that?
So there is no construction. This was actually conduit that they abandoned previously that we didn't think was viable, but it actually is usable. So and keeps it out of the Van Buren Complete Streets. So it's actually a win-win. So they don't have to do construction. They can just use existing conduit.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And is there anyone present on behalf of the Program Executive Office Enterprise Information?
Yes.
Please come forward, sir. And you just need to state your name and...
Yes, ma'am. My name is John Swart. I'm the director of the Army Technology Applications Office. We are the project management office for this project. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any comments or?
Tammy was spot on. I couldn't say it better than that. It's very simple, win-win. We won't bother you with additional construction. We make use of what's already there.
And do any council members have any questions of the representative? No, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is a public hearing, and I will call on comments from the audience. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to make a comment? Going once, going twice, seeing none. We're going to close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move on ordinance 19-0-38 to pass.
Second.
Okay, so that was, motion was made by Councilmember McKenna and seconded by Councilmember Del Aguila. Is there any discussion on the motion? Sir?
Just real quick, I want to thank staff for their work also with the, sorry, I'm going to call you the Army Corps of Engineers. That's how I grew up knowing you guys. I know mission critical things and like this, so just know that we definitely appreciate the work that you're doing and how important this really is. So thank you.
Any other comments? With that, I will call the question and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Okay. Councilmember Baker?
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Del Aguila?
Yes.
Councilmember DeCall?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedrichs?
Yes.
Councilmember McKenna?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olem?
Yes. So that passes 6-0. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the game.
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I move, we call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0.
Madam Vice Mayor, seeing no further business, I move we adjourn.
All right. Motion has been made to adjourn, seconded first by Baker, seconded by Friedrichs. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. And that brings us to a close at 7:51 p.m.
All right.
We're adjourned.